Okay. One Piece chapter 1139 blind reaction. I am kind of curious now. So it seems Sir Ya, or Gaban, as we find out in the end of the chapter, was one of the go to guys for the Pirate King Roger. And it looks like Luffy's getting ready to fight him. So this would be interesting because, we get like the information like Rayleigh wasn't as strong as Roger. We knew that, but it's the same thing here. So if I think they call Rayleigh the second, so this would be the third, the left hand, the right hand. I'm curious to see how they stack up. Because like we know that like Luffy was training with Rayleigh, but it's one of those things like obviously Rayleigh wasn't going full power with him. And then the other thing too is like Gaban to still be here. That whole crew had to have been something nasty, man. Like, say, like, if Luffy ends up fighting this guy and they end up going like high diff or moderate difficulty, that means like this guy's out of his prime, which means like the whole pirate crew for Roger had to have been something serious. Like, we already knew that Roger was something nasty and that Prime Garp was something nasty just because of what they did with the Rocks Pirates, but my God. I am like One Piece is not one of those series where I read it for like the fights and everything. This is one of those times I really want to see the fight now. Like, for as much as I love character writing, etc., at the end of the day, like a good old fashioned beatdown or back and forth, like it just does something to me. All right, let me back up, man, because I'm getting excited. Like, you can hear it. I'm getting excited, man. I'm getting all giddy and shit, man. So we open up this one, and we have the whole reveal going on where Zoro and Nami and Luffy, they're getting further brought up to speed, and Luffy's asking, like, hey, where's the key? And Zoro's like, well, maybe, the old sword Gramps to give it to us. And as they start looking around, Nami is the one who makes the connection. She said, wait a second, there's a red carpet here. And at first, I'm thinking, oh, okay, Nami is looking for treasure. Like, if there's a red carpet, it makes sense that there's treasure nearby. And I was kind of halfway right on that. But as they start walking, one of the things that we see is that there's a pentagram. And we know that's where Shamrock and them came in. Shamrock and the chick he was with. But it's one of those things like, I'm looking and Luffy's like, I think I've seen this before. And I'm going, where did you see this? Because I don't remember seeing this before. Like, did I miss something? Like, let me know down in the comment section because I'm going to read for this one. Again, I try to stay away from the comments while I'm catching up. Like, once we get caught up on this, I can go through and start engaging more. I'm doing a sincere blind reaction. Those of you guys who've been here from the beginning or you stumbled across, with some of the shit that I've said, I'm clearly doing this blind reacting. But I don't recall seeing something like this. Like, at first I was thinking like, oh, well, Jinbe had, and some of the other fishermen had a marking that kind of looked like that. But I was like, but that's different. And so when Luffy says, I think I've seen something like this before, and it's right before the throne room, that's one of those things like I'm looking at Oda and I'm going, I feel like he's either planted seeds here for something or I've completely missed something and forgot, which I hope to God I've not forgotten because I literally just went back and read One Piece from start to finish. Well, not to finish because it's not finished, but I got up to Wano during Thanksgiving break because I was flying on the plane and stuff. So had like my digital bookshelves and etc. So it was one of those things I had a lot of time. Like I had layovers and some more stuff. But anyway, getting into it. What we end up seeing is that Rodo tells them like this is a summoning ritual that they have from another country. So more world building. And as they start listening to this voice that's calling out, at first you hear in Nami like the scaredy cat tendencies come out because the moment that it might be a demon or a ghost, you see that she's freaking out. All of a sudden you see these twin axes. They start flying. Nami is like, Rodo, don't drop us. Zoro catches her. Obviously, it's one of those things like, you know that Zoro's kind of itching for the battle. And then that's when we find out that Mr. Ya is not only the husband of Ripley, but also he, since the Haki that came before, I almost said chakra. That's what I get from switching from Naruto to One Piece so soon in the same day. But he sensed the Haki in the castle earlier, and he says it's gone, but now I see you. And I've heard all these different stories, including how you took care of Kaidou. And he's like, I would love to go travel around the world again. And once he said that, my immediate thought was, this got to be somebody, because it says former pirate. I'm like, this got to be somebody that was in Roger's crew. And that ended up being the case. But the reason why I thought it is, we know for a fact that, you know, like, Luffy's going on the same path that Roger was on. And I'm just looking at like the appearance and everything, and I'm like, you know, the age kind of lines up. And then later on in the chapter, we get, you know, the flashback, etc. And so I like what we see with Ya's character. And I do kind of see where Oda's taking this to a degree, because it kind of does look like, you know, Luffy kind of built a crew that mirrors what Roger did. You know, we don't have like the little kid, unless you want to count Chopper. But the reason why I kind of say that is like, Ya acts a lot like Sanji. Serious, kind of plays the background, has intelligence, is a total man whore. I'm already getting the vibes there. Even Luffy draws a comparison. He's somebody that really loves attractive women. And then with Rayleigh was the swordsman, Zoro's a swordsman. So, and you got number 2 and number 3, Luffy and Zoro and Sanji. Like, I kind of see what Oda's doing. And now, like, my question is, like, who is Nami? Yo, I know some of the guys on the Patreon Discord server. It's like, of course, this man will immediately would go, who is Nami? You just got, like, the Sanji version. Your immediate thought is, like, who is Nami? Like, get your head out this woman's clit. I'm sorry. But I did like that. You know, we got to see the other side too, right? Because when Ya is talking and he's like, you know, my son just grew up before I could even hold him because of how giants age. And he's like, would you believe he's 20? And when he said that, I was like, Jesus Christ, he's 20. But it makes sense because they age slower. And when he said that Ripley was 80 and that she's older than him, my thought was like, man, if that's 80, man, I knock the dust. Woo! I don't even know. I would venture to say most of my subs over here are men. Like, this was Anime Explained. I would like edit this out. But, you know, I want to say this is mostly men. Man, I knocked the cobwebs off that pussy, man. Like, at 80, she looking like that? Shit. I make her feel 40. I make her feel half her age. Shit. Anyway. So what I did like, though, is as he talks about just the difference, we see some of the insecurities kind of come out, and we see like what Ripley was talking about, that, you know, he didn't want to officially marry her because of, you know, the aging, the fact that he was getting older and she wasn't. And, you know, like I can kind of understand that to a degree. I do, you know, and I think I said it when this got revealed. I do feel like when you find that person, who cares if there's an age gap? Like, if the vibe is there, the chemistry's there, go for it. Because, you know, some people spend their whole lives looking for that person and they don't ever find them. You gonna let an age difference keep you from that? Obviously, make sure they're legal. You know, we're not doing any Epstein and Drake stuff over here. But, like, as long as, you know, they're of age, the hell with it. You know, like, I would, if, like, my person was 10 years, 15 years younger than me or older than me, I mean, fuck it. If the vibe is there and we got enough in common, go right for it. So, I don't know. He kind of loses points with me on that. But, like, I do like how he pivots after Nami's like, you know, I'm just surprised here that someone's actually done it. You know, because, like, the size difference, age difference, etc. But what I like here is, you know, he starts talking. He says that love is free. And there have been many mixed blood races throughout history. And that's true with our own life. Like I talked before, you know, like in my family, like we have a lot of different backgrounds in it. You know, like with any family like that, you have a predominant ethnicity. But what I like too, though, is that as Ya's talking, he's like throughout history, there have been many mixed blood races. and he starts listing them out. And he said that these brilliant people, they don't last long, but in every era, there are those who are open-minded. And that's like a bit of a double-edged sword, because human nature is basically, if you look different from me, I'm supposed to fear you, because man fears what it doesn't understand and it hates what it can't conquer. And that's how we ultimately end up making monsters, because mankind itself is a monster when you just really strip it down on the most basic primal level. That is why for however many years people were in clans, they were in packs and etc. You know, like there was safety in numbers and there was safety and familiarity. And so when he drops that line in there, based on what we do know, like how the Buccaneers got treated, based on how we see how the Fishmen get treated, even in the One Piece world, when people look different, they are treated a specific way. So I like how Oda, because of the world that he's built, we don't have to just sit there and try to say, is he trying to say this? No, we know exactly what he's saying because we've seen it before. And again, I'm wondering if Oda knows about the racist Zoro memes, because Zoro's like, you seem to know a whole lot. Right after this man talks about being open-minded, etc., Zoro goes from not talking like, you seem to know a lot. Oh my God, man. There's a joke here, and I don't want to say it because it is insensitive, but there's a joke here with Zoro I could tell. Anyway, so when he calls himself a preacher of love, and Luffy's like, you know, he sounds like what Sanji be like when he gets older. And Luffy ends up telling him, like, you know, I want to free Loki. I want the handcuffs. And when Ya's like, you know, I like seeing other people cause trouble, but then again, the Sanji thing, like just as Sanji would kind of troll and be Mr. Prince and etc., Sanji, everything he did was methodical. And it's the same thing with Ya here. He's kind of poking around. He's heard the stories about Luffy, probably knows that Rayleigh trained him, but it's just one of those things where he's trying to see for himself how much of what he's heard is true, how much of it is false, and how much of Luffy's personality can he glean for himself. And so when Luffy says, well, if he does anything bad when I let him go, then I'll just beat him up and I'll put the chains back on. And I like that because it's so simple-minded that somebody that was trying to get one over on you, they would never think to say something like that, because they'd be too worried about keeping up perception. Luffy, what you see is what you get. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. And what I also like is that when Ya tells him, you know, many years ago, Shanks came here and he captured Loki. But prior to that, nobody stopped him. It's another measuring stick. So again, Ya knows who Shanks is. They're in the same crew. So you gotta imagine that that entire encounter was something, for lack of better words, a spectacle to see. But now Luffy has multiple measuring sticks. How he does against Loki determines how he would do in a fight with Shanks. And that's a whole nother can of worms. Now we know that Shanks has a brother and a celestial dragon connection. And then also with Ya, depending on how he does, like it kind of tells us like, yo, the king of the pirates crew is something kind of nasty. And I like how what we see is like when we see Ya's memories and he sees Rayleigh, I'm assuming that's Rayleigh just based on the design, where he sees Rayleigh and he sees Roger, and they're having the same argument that Luffy's having with Nami, where like Nami is like, look, dude, he's trying to give us a warning, you should listen. And it's the same thing that we saw before. And I like how as we transition away from that, that's when Usopp is, you know, told the different stories and everything. He's like, yeah, this is the thing. Rayleigh was known as the Pirate King's left arm, but the right arm, this is the guy that took down hundreds of enemies with 2 giant axes. And that's where, as soon as I got here, I was like, oh my God, the axis at the top of the chapter, is he? And then when you turn the page and they get into the treasure room, and it's like, oh my God, this really was that guy. I like this. Nami goes from you lied to me. I thought there was treasure. And when Rodo's like, well, it was a treasure room, but, it's an abandoned castle. Do you really think you're the first burglar who would try to steal it? It's like moments like this. Like, I love Nami, but it's moments like this where I go, oh, man, she got to find Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, somebody. Because this shit is not healthy the way that she just turned. And that's where we get the big reveal. That Yah was actually Scopper Gaban. And it looks like the fight is getting ready to happen. The battle for the key. I'm excited to see where this goes, man. So my chapter question for you guys is, let me know down in the comment section. Do you think that Oda's been purposely intentional in trying to have Luffy rebuild his own version of Roger's crew? And then the second question I have for you guys is, how close do you think Luffy is to Shanks? Like, you can use the knowledge that you have. Just be careful, because I'm going to read the comments on this review. So please don't spoil anything. But I am curious to see, like, just go from 1 to 10, but don't put any specifics. Like, if 10 is the strongest and 1 is the weakest, where do each of the Straw Hats rank in comparison to Shanks? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.